Some headsets just fell on the floor, Billy, and I came in to Stugotz sort of waddle hovering over it. And you have to understand, he's had a rough couple of days. The traffic has been bad. It took him 2 hours and 20 minutes to get into today.
Yeah.
He looks like he's been run over by
No one believes that.
by a Zamboni.
Okay.
Well, he got in here just minutes before here. Usually he's earlier than that. Yeah. But
Thank you, Dan.
When I came in, though, he was really laboring, bent over his headsets that were on the floor, and he was having a great deal of difficulty getting up from being bent over. Like he was moaning.
Right.
And
I was doing you a favor, by the way.
I know.
So you didn't have to do it.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. But
Defensive.
underneath all of that, I also heard him groan.
Oh.
What a night on the ice.
Oh, my God. That's the reason I'm late, by the way. 2 overtimes at Madison Square Garden. Big win for the Rangers. And then the Lanch. Oh, the Lanch.
Roy, is this true?
Yeah, it was a good night last night.
Roy, can you confirm reports of the Lanch?
Can you?
Yes, the Lanch.
Are you reporting exclusively the Lanch?
The Lanch.
Yeah.
Down 3-0.
3-goal deficits don't matter against the Lanch.
They might have the best defenseman of all time. They might have the best forward in the league. Oh, the Lanch.
I mean, Bobby Orr is...
Yeah, Bobby Orr. Put
Ray
Cale McCarr.
Bork.
Let me tell you something. You put Cale McCarr in Bobby Orr's time. You put him in Bobby Orr's time.
It was a different time.
No, I know Bobby Orr changed his position. It was incredible.
Bobby Orr would look at today's
Pucks
game.
had
Everybody
belts.
would be a sorcerer.
There's no Cale McCall without Bobby Orr.
The
They didn't even integrate the sport back then. I can't use the same arguments
No,
for hockey.
but it really is the same. I wait for the day when Stugotz is going to be Mad Dog yelling about how great Michael Jordan was, and everyone's going to be laughing at him.
That day will never happen, Dan.
It's going to happen with centers, really, because like Wemby is going to be the greatest basketball player ever, and we're just going to be talking about Shaq. And you're going to see, like, what's this guy? You just foul him. He's done.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, act like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but man's keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I am genuinely curious about what the reaction of everybody is going to be to the news yesterday that I thought that was glossed over a little bit. Rudy Gobert became a Hall of Famer yesterday. You win 4 of those things, you get in the Hall of Fame.
No question. Yep.
You say no question, and I'm like, Rudy Gobert, Hall of Famer. I mean, I know that
It's a different Hall of Fame.
I know it's a
Dan.
different
exemption
Yes.
just this one time because nobody likes him. He has so many things working against him. He started COVID. He's French.
We made the argument on the show yesterday that the Timberwolves are better off without him.
He's going to end up in the Hall of Fame, and I don't care how diminished the Basketball Hall of Fame is. I still am jarred.
What's worse, betting on your own sport or ruining everybody's lives for 2.5 years?
Or missing a game because you had a kid.
It's up there.
Yep.
He's no Brandon Carlo.
And as an added bonus, rare is the Hall of Famer that very often during games as the sport evolves just gets taken off of the court for long stretches of time. That usually doesn't happen to the Hall of Famers at the height of their powers. But as Stugotz said while moaning over headsets that were on the floor and with a bad back that made it very difficult to get up, what a night on the ice.
It was magical, Dano.
This sport. 2 OTs, 2 games. They gave 3 OTs, actually.
Yes.
Oh,
2 in the Rangers game.
more OTs and games.
How many people out there were confused when a tied overtime Rangers game all of a sudden with 30 seconds left as everyone is very excited, the broadcast goes to another pregame show?
Oops.
How
The
many
Star-
of you...
the Star- Stars game. It was the Star.
It went to the Stars game. There was about maybe a minute or so left in regulation in the Rangers game, and they left the Rangers game to go to the Stars game. And I thought the Ranger game went to ESPNU, so I went to ESPNU, and the Stars game was there as well.
Which would have been a curious
Yes.
decision with 30 seconds left on the
Weird.
running clock.
Yes.
I'm gonna power through this one. No, fine. So 30 seconds left on a running clock. Me and about 15 of my closest hosers, we go to a local watering hole, and we are just maniacs about this sport. And
Billy, why are you making that face?
Your closest what?
hosers.
Is that
So-
a hockey thing?
It's a Canadian phrase.
Yeah, it's not very flattering, but whatever. We're puckheads. So we go to our favorite hockey bar. It's about 15 of us, and I'm telling you, these fellas are on a rampage.
I need to stop everything that's happening here because whatever you think Mike Ryan is with soccer insanity,
Yep.
with basketball insanity, and with University of Miami insanity, hockey Mike Ryan is 15 people in a bar yelling at a television when the game is tied with 30 seconds left and the television is going to another broadcast.
Hosers, just a hostile takeover
Duh.
of a bar. People using hockey gloves as koozies. It was, it was a movie. But and we just like joy. We want people to find their joy. We want points. We want goals. We like the overs. We like the player props. Yeah, maybe a little side action on the Carolina Hurricanes. That's a tough L. But generally, we just want a good game. And we were being treated to an amazing game, courtesy of the New York Rangers and Carolina Hurricanes. And with 30 seconds left on a running clock and the game in the balance, they decided to go to the pregame coverage. A big mess up over by ESPN production. However, we also had the over in Dallas, so we weren't necessarily super mad about it. We were just confused.
Mike, I will tell you this. The Rangers had no business winning that game last night. Carolina dominated play. They did, but that's what hockey's all about.
Yep.
You just need one.
And that series ain't over. Series ain't over. One bit.
I want to go back to the hosers for a second. It's a Canadian phrase. Was the Smothers Brothers? I think are the ones who introduced me to it as a Canadian insult.
Are they on
I think.
TikTok?
I don't know whether they invented it or
Smothers
not.
Brothers.
That's funny.
Wikipedia
think-
says Rick Moranis is the one on SCTV who popularized it. But it means and I will get this specific for you, a foolish or uncultivated person.
Yeah, no, that checks.
I mean, that's hockey fans.
Yeah, that checks out.
That's hockey fans in a bar. Wait a minute. I shouldn't say it's all hockey fans. It's hockey fans who drink beer from a koozie 15 deep in a bar. That's hoser.
It was the koozie was a hockey glove. It was an important detail. You just hand the hockey glove around. Take a swig. Oh man, what a night! What a night! And then we had another game after that Rangers Carolina game, and I'm very, very glad to see the nation is actually supporting this. This sport is truly growing, and it shows the power of ESPN. This sport barely survived the 2 lockouts and being stuck on verses and not getting mainstream attention. For it to finally get mainstream attention, Pat McAfee's been such a great ally for the sport. They're getting close to NBA playoff numbers.
The ratings are very good, and Juju, in basketball, one of the things basketball suffers from that hockey doesn't because of where offense has gone is the games last night aren't interesting. You don't have to watch these 20 and 30-point games, and I'm really genuinely curious because I don't remember the Warriors doing what the Celtics are doing, where they just stack throughout the game. And I know they're playing against Cleveland and Miami in their lower seeds, but they've been doing it all season where they just go, they're up 9 now, they're up 18, they're up 27, they're up 35, and the game's never going to get close. They're going to just keep grinding your face into the ground, and it makes the games uninteresting. They're not the hockey games. You can tune out of both of those games last night, and you didn't miss miss anything. What the Sixers and the Knicks gave us and what the Knicks and the Pacers gave us, that's a rarity. Like even the Minnesota-Denver games aren't close. Like we're surprised by the results, but we're looking at it and it's not dramatic games.
The Celtics are overwhelming. They've had 20-point leads in half of their games this year. Like that's crazy. Think about that.
We've been sounding the klaxon for what's going on with this sport. I genuinely think, not unlike baseball, analytics has kind of gamed the system and cracked the game in ways that aren't necessarily pleasing to viewers. And look, we got a deep Knicks playoff run here, and generally the NBA playoffs are down. Knicks games are doing well, but they're buoyed by this Knicks run, and the arrow's not pointing up. It's not flat. It's pointing down. And sports everywhere are up.
Well, but you say pointing down, and these TV rights, Stugotz, and we'll talk about this with David Sampson later. There was a miscalculation by the folks at TNT not understanding what's happening in the competitive streaming space. And so when I think it was Zaslav, the CEO of CNN, of all of it actually.
Of Max.
Of the whole thing. He ends up saying that they're not interested in renew, or they're not sure they're going to renew basketball. And as soon as that happens, Amazon's going to get games. Like there is simply no way that Amazon will not get games.
Well, Amazon, their offer kind of leaked out yesterday. They're looking at $1.8 billion per season over 11 years. I mean, that's crazy.
But it's interesting what Mike Ryan is saying here, though, because I, too, was under the impression that for a lot of different reasons, I could have said but pre-streaming, I could have made the argument, basketball's going to a dangerous place. But because all that matters here isn't actually ratings. It's not. It's not even how many people you have in your arenas. It's just, can you get the TV money? The TV money is the rocket fuel for the entirety of the business, and nothing else matters. And the thing that I simply had not allowed for, Stugotz, and I don't think a lot of people saw this coming, because it is an evolution that I would say that's over the last 5 or 6 years. I don't know that we've had a lot of visionaries. Basketball's going to get bailed out. The business of basketball is going to get bailed out because they have legitimate problems, but you don't have legitimate problems if you've got a sugar daddy that's giving you billions and billions of dollars, and now there's a bidding war for these rights. Everybody seems to want them, even though it ain't hockey, man. The basketball playoffs, what it is so far, you can be interested in the games. You can have passion about the games, but the way the games are going aren't luring you in. And when you're in the close ones and all you're doing is yelling about the referees and the 2-minute report and the refs are deciding the end of the game instead of the players, like you have an entertainment problem.
Yes, 100%. But while they're going through this entertainment problem, like you said, the timing couldn't be better, because you have streaming services paying a premium for the association with the NBA. They're not necessarily paying for what the product is now, the ratings they're driving now. They want to be in the game. They want to be up. There it is. Yeah. They want to be legitimized by having this partnership. You automatically, my understanding is that Turner can match the deal, but these are getting to crazy prices, and you genuinely
I'm not certain Turner would want to match that deal.
Yeah, because it's getting to an insane
ridiculous
place. But if you're Amazon, you already have the NFL. You want to legitimize yourself as a destination that sports fans have to go to. If you want to follow sports, you need Amazon Prime. You can just microwave a sports juggernaut by not just acquiring the NBA, but what happens to Turner's studio shows that the league loves? What happens to all of that if there is no sport to cover? Well, if I'm Amazon, I'd say everybody in Atlanta, you stay right there. We go from Turner to Amazon. We're immediately a legitimate entity. We have shoulder programming already there. I mean, the studio coverage is almost more popular than the sports sometimes.
In other streaming news, Boomer Esiason said on WFAN this morning that he would not be surprised, and we should not be surprised, if the NFL sells its Christmas games to Netflix.
I think, correct me if I'm incorrect on this.
That's Boomer, Dan.
It's a big story, Dan.
The
WFAT. I mean.
The WNBA tip-off is going to be on Disney Plus, correct? So
That's right.
So if you want to see Caitlin Clark's first game, you're not going to be able to see that on regular television. You're going to have to subscribe to that. As on the day, Stugotz, that we find out that the women are now getting chartered flights, that they don't have to do this primitive.
Well, that's nice.
It is nice, but now that you see the economy,
We'll do MLS next.
the economy of this is changing.
Yes.
But tonight, if you want to watch Caitlin Clark, you're either going to get highlights for free or you're going to have to pay for Disney Plus. And Stugotz, I will tell you that Disney had a very good quarterly earnings, overachieved in every single way because of how aggressively Disney is going into streaming as something that can help save the business.
Caitlin Clark's game will also be on ESPN2. So it's Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and ESPN2.
So
it'll be in all of those places.
Okay, so it's not exclusive to Disney
No,
Plus.
Correct.
No.
Okay.
But live sports on Disney Plus is a change.
It is a change, but I don't know why anybody would go there if you don't make them go there by denying them the access on free television.
But forgive me for not knowing this, but it's a preseason game, right?
No, this will be on May 14th when
Oh, okay.
the
I thought you said
season kicks
tonight.
off for her.
But Dan, I think some people have bailed on cable television, meaning they don't have ESPN2 anymore, so they'll get it on Disney
They
Plus.
found a way to get our money. This
Yes,
is ridiculous.
they always do.
I'm a sports fan. I can't not have one of the streaming services now because they're all going to have live sports. I'm going to have to still have cable so I can watch the games that are just exclusive behind that paywall that are integrated inside the app. So not only am I paying for cable, I can't cut the cord, and now I'm just going to every single streaming service. It's insane.
And you also have to watch FBI.
Can you explain to me, Jeremy, how it is that this is working with Disney Plus? Have they ever had a live sporting event on Disney Plus?
This will be the first non-animated live sporting event on Disney Plus.
Remember the Toy Story game?
Yeah, don't forget the Toy Story game.
It was a good game.
Yeah.
Took a little bit, but
Right.
they found their way.
They didn't cut to the stars.
But fascinating to launch
Slinky
with
the dog,
this.
Remember?
Let me go back to something that was said by Mike here about the NBA studio show. You've heard me say it's the greatest sports studio show in the history of sports studio shows. And he said sometimes it's more popular than the games. And it is really interesting to watch these people who are all over 50 years old still dominate even the new technology landscape because what they've figured out, and this is rare, and it's where one of the many ways they're ahead of the game, because of attention deficit disorder, because sometimes the games aren't enough, because everyone's addicted to social media and needs more and more action, you're basically televising a 4, 5, 6 hour radio show with these guys who like hanging out with each other and have more room to work than any of these other studio shows that are just showing you at every turn very consistently, we're just here to get to the next commercial. We're just here to take you to the next commercial. Here's Stephen A. Smith. Here's Michael Wilbon. Here's to say it in 20 seconds, get out of here. And there's not room for friendship and laughter and bits and Kenny's falling down and Charles is being Charles. They are so far ahead of the game because what they're doing, the games are incidental. Mm-hmm. Like they can use the games for content, but you're not there all night with them for 4 and 5 and 6 hours waiting for LeBron to get out of the shower. You're not there for primarily the information because I don't believe that the way basketball is being covered right now, that's where you're getting the best basketball information.
Yeah,
You're not. You're getting entertainment.
I mean, Shaq explained today's game. It doesn't really compute with me. But for me, like Turner's studio coverage, both on the NBA and NHL side, it's replaced what Conan used to be for me. This is my late night talk show. These guys, and it's just a frame. The game is an excuse to get to know these great ensembles. Turner has cracked the code, often imitated, never replicated.
One of the interesting things about it, I think, Stugotz, the high wire act of live television that Netflix is now also trying to get into because John Mulaney is doing something very strange on Netflix. I told you what was happening this weekend where you've got Cat Williams basically Shannon Sharpe now has the most viewed interview in the history of YouTube. It surpassed Joe Rogan's Elon Musk interview. And in doing so, he's given Cat Williams has given Cat Williams an enormous career resurgence as a comedian and a grinder, so much so that he's mentioning Shannon Sharpe in the first 2 sentences of his special because Cat Williams has never been this. He went on Shannon Sharpe's Club Shay Shay and ended up making the internet record for views because he basically, whether he's nuts or not, he told an awful lot of truth that people do not tell in public spaces.
Is that the clinical term?
That is correct. That's exactly right. And he ends up with a live special on Saturday night. Then you go Tom Brady and the roast on Sunday night. And then you've got all of comedy is in Los Angeles for the Netflix Is a Joke week. And John Mulaney does a super strange show because he's just got the power to do it as one of the best stand-ups. They've given him a show, and he's making it as weird as possible.
It's the strangest late-night TV show that technically has the structure of your typical late-night show where he starts with a monologue, but the monologue is just making fun of L.A. The whole thing is called Everybody's in L.A. And so it starts there, but then he brings in a combination of guests that will throw you off given the topic of that night. So one night it was palm trees was the topic he wanted to focus on. So he brought on an expert in that and Jon Stewart. Last night it was helicopters. So he brought on the first helicopter journalist, Zoe Tur, along with Nate Bargatze and Earthquake. And he has conversations with all of these people that make no sense.
Right, I have the exact
He's just exploring his
weird on
curiosities.
purpose.
It's weird on purpose and
about late
awkward
night
and
cable
uncomfortable.
television.
It's late night. You want weird. I mean,
It's so strange.
Eric Andre would like a word, though.
Well,
Warning.
totally. But it is so weird the way that he's exploring these curiosities and then with a total non sequitur going into a different question for Bargatze. He'll talk about helicopters and the OJ chase and be like, so, Nate Bargatze, you really like candy. And it just sits there awkwardly, and they toss to strange interviews. It is so uncomfortable knowing that it's live. It's that high wire act that makes it so good.
Coyotes, I think, was one of
That was the first one.
Subjects. That,
Coyotes.
With Jerry Seinfeld.
Tell me, Bron on Roenick.
So helicopter journalists, I was confused at first. So the people that are like the videographers
In the
of
helicopter,
Okay,
yeah.
I
What
was
did you think
confused.
that was?
I was confused that it was a profession. I was like,
Like
is
John
there- is there-
Stossel's just close to
like,
you?
No, that
Traffic
there's just-
reporters?
There's someone that wrote about helicopters. Like there was a helicopter newsletter in there, and there's people just
a
wrote
weird
about
beat, yeah.
Exactly. I was like, there's more than one person whose job it is to write about helicopters. Like, why is this a thing?
And the show
there a
had this
newsletter?
journalist and then brought on Marsha Clark to speak with the journalist.
What?
It was amazing.
But you now understand what it is to be the first helicopter journalist, correct? You are hovering over the freeway chasing O.J. Simpson.
I mean, videographers, journalists.
Well,
That's a debate for another day.
She was a journalist who told the story that they used to before helicopters because she bought her own helicopter to do this. That was how it started. She bought her own helicopter
To chase the news.
To chase the news in LA because traffic was so bad. And what she said is that they used to impersonate cops or ambulances to get to wherever the crimes were,
That's a
which is
heady
just
play.
admitting to a crime.
That's a crime.
It's
yeah.
a crime. But then they bought a helicopter.
But a heady play, as described by Stugotz. What you put it on the poll?
Got to get the story, Dan. I mean,
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Is what you would call a crime to Stugotz a heady play? Because I think that's pretty consistent. I need to.
I've always wanted one of those sirens. You could just reach outside your window, slap on the top of your car, turn it on, and just drive through traffic.
Like a Joe Friday?
Yes.
You could buy one. There's nothing stopping you.
Really?
I want to get to a literal
Sure.
heady play from last night in hockey, but before I do that, I just want to speak for the listeners here, Stugotz, who have written in because yesterday in a take that you have not refurbished, you've got a couple of takes that haven't actually been updated by you in the files. You haven't updated the software, and so
Right.
you blurted yesterday because you have this habit. It's a bit of Tourette's take of yours that horse racing is dead.
Yeah.
But you did that after the Derby had its biggest rating since 1989.
I don't care.
Well, can I get through the numbers on
Yes,
on
sorry.
how you're wrong
Apologies, that
first
was
before
rude.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I know you're going. I know.
I said sorry.
I know you're not going to update the software, Stugotz. I know that you're not going to add any information that's going to change
Sharpen the tools.
your opinion on horse racing is dead. But what you are going to get is the flogging of facts that the Kentucky Derby sold out 160,000 seats, and on top of that, did its biggest number, 17 million, since 1989, at a time when you weren't saying that horse racing is dead. You were not in 1989 when you were.
It was still alive,
when you
yeah.
were on the Hank Goldberg
Yes.
show, and you were talking about horse racing a lot back
I had no
then.
choice.
So this number was bigger than any of the numbers in the last 30 years.
But that's misleading because the Kentucky Derby is an event. Like, you watch it because it's the Kentucky Derby, not because you care about horse racing.
And that was the 150th running
Yeah.
of the
Oh,
Kentucky
come on.
Derby.
You think that's why? Like, normally I would
Well,
skip
that and the
this,
gambling.
but
Yeah.
it's
Centennial
it's-
0.5, yeah.
Sports are all up
gambling.
pretty
Let me-
much across the board
I
because of
understand that.
sports gambling.
Right, but let me know how 151,
Mm-hmm.
152, 153, 154, 167. Let me know how those go, you know?
Go to Calder on a Tuesday afternoon. We'll
You
see
watched-
how vibrant horse racing
Challenge
is.
accepted.
Golf
Bingo.
stream.
You watched horse racing because you wanted to see if a horse could win the Triple Crown.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a horse has done that recently, so therefore horse racing is dead. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I know the numbers suggest otherwise.
You were quite
But I don't
literally
care.
beating a dead horse. You're literally beating a dead horse.
No, that's in California.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Horse racing is dead. I know the numbers say otherwise. If that's not where we are in general, arguing facts in
It's
America,
folks.
like that's it right there. Like I know what you think, all those facts, but I've got my opinion, and that's gonna win here. You're gonna give me more facts? Okay, I'm gonna stay right where I am.
Now imagine how entertaining it would be if Stugotz were to debate that fact against Marcia Clark.
I think we need to see the Preakness numbers before we can assess whether
Right.
or not horse racing is dead.
Well, I don't think the Derby horse is racing in the Preakness.
Oh, I mean,
To my point.
We're doing
Exactly
load
right.
management in this sport too.
Ridiculous.
Heavens.
It's horseshit.
Secretariat's rolling over in his grave.
Hey.
Is he dead?
Is he a he?
I don't know.
A couple of funny baseball things I wanted to get to. A couple of days ago, we were talking about closer entrances and Duran in Minnesota, how he comes in to the lights being turned off and everyone waving the lights on their phones. And the Oakland A's have a closer, Stugotz, who throws 104 miles an hour. Okay, Mason Miller is their closer, and he's great. And he said when they asked him, because of everything going on in Oakland, if you're not paying attention, there are nights when they don't seem to have 2,000 people in the ballpark. And he was asked why he doesn't have a big entrance, and his quote was, the lights might not come back on.
That's what we were talking about yesterday. Me and Greg longing for the day that stadium lights went off and it'd take 15 minutes to turn back on.
But the A's might have, the A's might have the electricity cut because they can't, they can't pay for it. The Oakland A's are playing in real life in the major leagues. They're playing out the movie Major League, where they're probably getting into dirty whirlpools because their facilities aren't quite major league.
Cold water in the shower.
I can't wait for the oral history of the Oakland Coliseum, Oakland A's years. But you mentioned Major League, and it might actually be playing out the same way because they're a lot better than people assumed. They're only 4 games back of the division with the expanded wild card. They could actually make summer interesting, and what a cool experience that would be in their final year in that godforsaken stadium. It's exactly like the movie.
I spent all of last season betting for them to lose by more than a run, and it was profitable. It worked.
Have you switched to the Marlins?
I have.
Speaking of the Marlins, last night they were underestimated. Let's go out to some video and some sound from the MLB network here. Yamamoto is opening for the Dodgers. They're sort of laughing at the Marlins, and Yamamoto is capable of shutting anyone down. And here's the analysis as they lead into the game.
Don't take this the wrong way, but we are already a no-hitter alert. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, before he throws a single pitch tonight against the Marlins, we have a no-hitter alert.
Okay.
Enjoy what could be a no-hitter from Yamamoto.
Jazz, swing your first pitch.
Right here on MLB Network for Harold. See why I'm Greg. We have a no-hitter alert.
Bethancourt, first pitch, swinging. Jazz with a high fly ball. Deep right center field, and the Marlins are on the board first.
First pitch of the game.
Wasting no time.
Didn't we say about the stars coming out in Hollywood?
We showed them.
8-2 final.
You give up a grand slam in the bottom of the first.
Who won?
First pitch of the game, though, when you put everyone on no-hitter alert.
That's great. That's how you promote a game coming up on your network.
Yep.
But as Stugotz said, while moaning and having difficulty getting up over some headsets that were on the floor, what a night on the ice.
What a night on
God.
the ice!
Amazing, man.
Can we talk about a game? Can we break down a game? Because this double
I want
OT
that
game,
heady play.
The heady play, a literal heady play. Jacob Trouba should probably get suspended for this. So there was a lot of moments in this game that felt like a fever dream. You think you're watching the end of an overtime, but then you're sent to Dallas for some godforsaken reason. And then this play that I also thought the TV was broken when I looked up at it because a player was stuck in the glass for a half a beat. So here in this play, you have Jacob Trouba looking to kill Martin Necas for the Carolina Hurricanes. He extends his elbow. He is looking to decapitate this Carolina Hurricane.
For those of you not watching, he lands like a dart.
Lawn darts straight into the glass, and for a half a beat is stuck in the glass, completely horizontal. He should be suspended for this because he attempted to kill that man.
Parallel to the ice. He is, he's parallel to the ice with his helmet stuck in the glass.
Jacob Trouba has 6 penalties so far in 2 games. 6 penalties, and that one should have been a charging penalty.
He was also the first one up and then skated right off before
Hockey
the guy
player.
that slid onto the floor.
Yeah.
Well, because his knee hit his helmet. That's why Necas couldn't get
That
up.
would have Luke out for months. Jimmy Butler, months.
It spawned a bunch of great memes, but I don't know how you outgoon Matt Rempe in a series because Matt Rempe, I don't know if you're...
Can he fight?
Matt Rempe, and we have an image of Matt Rempe, so you can see if you're familiar with this guy's work. He's 6'7". His job is to be a goon, muddy stuff up in front of the net, and use every inch of that 6'7" frame. He also fancies himself an enforcer, but he's a terrible enforcer. He likes to fight all the time, but that face right there, that image, is a good example of how this usually goes for a guy who's 6'7", has all the reach in the world. Bad fighter.
That is a great comedy skit. The guy who goes through an NHL life thinking he's a goon, but he's no good at it.
He's also a rookie. He's done some things this season that has not been good in this league.
The Ranger fans love him, by the way.
Oh, he is
yes.
the Rempire State. They love
Rempire State Building.
Yeah,
yes.
They love this dude. He has become an icon.
What a name.
And I'm not really sure. He did score once in the playoffs, and it was unavoidable. Like, he has become a cult hero over there. There's Rempe jerseys everywhere. This guy is an immense star because he's playing in New York.
Tall.
He's just tall.
Yeah.
He's just tall. He likes to fight, but he's not good at it. Short guys are kicking his ass left and right. But, look at that face. How can you not love him?
He's too tall to be hitting people. Every time he hits somebody about 5 inches shorter than he is, he ends up elbowing them in the face.
In all seriousness, though, Trouba's going to get suspended for that, right? Because the rule is intent.
Yeah.
Like, he has his elbow.
He intended to kill him.
That's intent to injure. That is suspendable.
The suspension should be for manslaughter.
But the end result was him getting lawn darted into the glass.
He'd have to be dead. This goes into that whole quacky doctor situation again.
This guy has wingspan, though. It's not height; it's wingspan. Rempe can be winning fights because of wingspan.
He's awful at fighting.
Yeah, and his hair keeps flying back because of the amount of fist that he's getting in the face.
He's got a wingspan, though. I'd tell you that.
Well, when he goes out there to fight, I would not want to fight him because in that sport with wingspan, they tend to pull your jersey up over your head, and they grab the side of you and keep you. He should win these fights with his wingspan.
He is. His whole defense is, I'm going to eat this punch with my face to set up my.
You think you can beat me? Watch my nose eat your fist.
But the thing is, it's not like he's got a great jaw either. His face becomes picadillo every time he gets into a fight. What? I love a good old-fashioned goon.
Oh, that's great.
But you got to be good at it.
Well,
you can't.
He's good at being
debatable.
tall.
Yeah.
He's very tall. He's 6'7". He's tall. There's no denying he's tall.
Stugotz, can we talk for a second about the Celtics? And instead of celebrating every moment of theirs as they drag people, because they've been a machine the entirety of the season, I believe that the people listening to this think that the only flaw that the Celtics have as a basketball team, and I'm telling you, Stugotz, I don't remember the 72-win Warriors winning specifically this way,
right?
Where the point differential was up here. It was close, but the point differential was up here, and all the games were just stacks of. Occasionally, they play a game in the 130s with Atlanta because they're just fooling around and it's close, but the games are 30 points, 20 points, and it's just consistently they throttle you and then just keep the lead. There's no back and forth.
No.
The Celtics, though, I believe their only flaw in perception is they better not play close ones. They better not be actually tested,
right?
And have at the end of games, it's not everyone gets to score, and this night it's going to be Derek White and Jaylen Brown. When everything gets cleared out, what's going to happen? Oh, it's going to be Tatum, and it's going to be a long jumper. That's what it's going to be when the games get close. Do they have another flaw? Because it is statistically one of the best teams we've ever seen, the way they win games. The difference between them and everyone else in the league.
I think that's the only flaw, like how they'll react. Big spot, close game. What will Tatum do? Tatum wasn't even good last night. The Celtics still won by 25 points. Derek White has been absolutely amazing. But
what a find. What a trade.
Amazing. But you ask yourself, when are they going to have close games? Who are they going to have close games against? And I'm afraid they're not going to have them until the NBA Finals. Like, maybe a close game or two with the Knicks, and that's about it. I mean,
do you guys find interesting the way that Tatum is covered?
I do. I think it's interesting because he's sort of gotten in his young career the opposite treatment of what LeBron got. Both came in with huge expectations, but LeBron was surrounded by nothing in a franchise that was known for nothing.
Okay, but LeBron's expectations
Were way higher.
Were
Way higher.
younger
No, it's very
and,
different.
and doubled.
Well, not much younger. It was 1 year younger.
Way higher.
Well, no,
way
but the,
higher.
No, but the expectations were with him since high school.
Yes.
Yeah. He came in as a number 2 overall pick in a draft where did Fultz go number 1?
It was
in that
3.
draft?
It was
3.
Fultz, Ball, Tatum. But the premise being, he was drafted into a pretty good organization, has played with star after star after star that they've brought in as guards to be number 1 options when he was younger.
Played
Kemba
with
Walker,
Kyrie. Yeah.
Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward was supposed to be someone that they brought in for him. Now Porzingis, Drew Holiday. There's all these guys that have been around this young core. And they've made 1 finals thus far. They'll make another finals this year. But consistently
We'll see.
At the end of games, we've seen they've struggled. And he's the de facto closer. And yet, understandably, because he's a great player, this is not me hating on Jason Tatum. I think he's one of the 5 best players in the league, probably. But it's interesting that he's not really ripped by anybody for not being able to get there, win the championship, when he's been surrounded by great teams for most of his career. Their one hurdle has been the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, where LeBron was facing the end of a Detroit Pistons dynasty, Wade and Shaq, the big 3 in Boston, and yet he was getting ripped for not winning the big one.
It's the way that they fail, too. It's he goes missing or he's not very good. And he puts on the Kobe armband. He does have a road game 7 win, and people attribute like that Mamba mentality to that one thing. But this is a bizarre one because he's got a teammate in Jaylen Brown that when this goes south, if it does, and they run into a better team in the NBA Finals, he's got to get the blame. This is not a Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant situation. Jason Tatum is so much better than Jaylen Brown.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay.
So much better.
Because Jaylen Brown has a $300 million contract,
Yeah,
does
but
he not?
that's not.
That's the NBA.
Yeah.
It's the next match.
But
That's
he's
right.
Stugotz,
I
you've
think he's
argued
largely
that
getting a
Tatum
pass.
is Kevin Durant, and now you're sitting here saying he's not better than Jaylen Brown? Keep some inventory of your takes, man.
Sharpen the tools.
You're part of the problem.
You've heard me complain a lot in the last 3 years, Stugotz, about the pandemic just sort of exposing and speeding up some greed-related things that not only create like real problems between people who have money and people who don't, and the disparities of that have made me really feel for people who are struggling day to day. Because I believe on the happiness pie chart, if you're struggling with money every day or financial concerns, it can get really hard, no matter how spiritual you are, to be happy, because there's just fear around you at all times about not being able to afford things. And things are getting more and more expensive in a way that's alarming. That, you know, a cup of coffee on South Beach is $9 now. And, when I see what's happening with streaming and how aggressive and fast it is, when I tell you I didn't see this coming this way,
right?
The streamers being competitive about the greed when your leader is Netflix, which for a long time now has established itself as a company that's going to take all of its enormous profits worldwide and pour it right back into the business. Netflix now getting into the football game, if indeed Boomer Esiason's report is correct, that Netflix is going to get into the game, is making it so much faster than I thought. You're pricing out sports fans. You're really hurting sports fans who care about stuff by taking advantage of their addiction to teams and making it so they can get, the more you love sports, the harder it is for you to afford everywhere where your games are about to be, because cable is falling apart in front of you, and it's getting splintered so much by competitive greed, because Amazon and Apple and Max and Disney and Netflix, they all want the same things. They don't want to share the dollars with each other. They want to be the one or two winners so that they get all the dollars.
And if you're someone, I guess to your point, on a tight budget, you're going to have to make choices. If this Netflix deal goes through where they get the Christmas Day NFL games, you will have NFL games next season exclusively on CBS, Fox, ABC, NBC, ESPN, ESPN Plus, Peacock, Amazon, and Netflix.
I feel bad for sports fans. I feel this is going to get so much more expensive than cable. You're about to enter into a place where if you care about things, they're going to take advantage of your sports allegiances, your loyalties, and they're going to make it very hard for you to afford everything.
And you still need the cable, because really big games are still going to be on over-the-top cable.
FBI.
And you can't access them on your streaming service without putting in your cable credentials. Presently, right now, and it's almost a principle thing, I am not subscribing to Netflix because I am doing the cost analysis on live streaming rights. Well, they brought on Monday Night Raw, which is a program you need to watch live if you're me. So in a couple of months, I'll be there. And then I officially have them all. Hell, I have like ones in South America.
And how much more is that than you were paying? Like
much more.
Are you still paying for cable?
I shudder to think like how much I am actually paying for my sports entertainment
crazy.
right now.
Yes.
I actually need to put it in calendars to unsubscribe when the season ends and then just resubscribe.
What happened to the days where I turned on my television and sports were on it? That's it. I didn't know what sports. I didn't know if it was going to be good sports, but they were sports. And it was free. What happened, Dano? I don't know why I'm throwing it to you.
Greed happened. Greed happened, and a whole lot of competitors to television happened. It's no longer 3 channels. It's more than 3 giants fighting over the fact that they know you're addicted to this. There is nothing like sports, Stugotz. It's not just because this part is unique by itself for the business of what it is that they're doing. The part that's unique is sports are one of the very, very few places where people still gather around at an appointed time. They are not making a menu item. They're not doing this on their own time. You are doing it at the time of sports. That's why all of these entities are trying to get into live sports. But even beyond that, because that by itself is special enough, the emotional allegiances that people have to teams and games are unlike anything else outside of maybe music in entertainment. It's unlike anything else. You do not get, you've heard me say this before, for everybody who says the most exciting day of your life was when your children were born, not many of you were jumping up and down the way you were when your team scored the touchdown in the Super Bowl. Like you, however happy you think you were.
I've never experienced that.
However happy you.
My wife and I jumped on the couch when Kyle Larson pulled ahead with 0.001. I swear.
You both jumped on the couch?
Jumped on the couch, looked at each other, and it was on mute. It was on mute. We both jumped up. Sports are great. Love sports. I'm paying an arm and a leg for them.
It's interesting because I would have paid if I had to for Caitlin Clark's first game tonight. Or I would have asked Mike for his password. I mean.
And you can't look. And the WNBA has its own version of the League Pass. Yeah. It's only $24.99. I suggest everybody go out there and support these ladies because you can watch every single game. You don't need any other app. You can watch the entire season.
For the entire season. It's
$24.99.
Yeah.
Everybody, come on, guys.
All right,
so
$24 more gone, though.
I'm in.
Sign up right now.
Okay.
Let's do it on air. Let's have a drive. Everybody sign up right
Whittingham.
Hold on a second.
Yo, chicken time.
Text them.
I'm in. You said I'm in. It's a $24.99. Let's see the $24.99. Here we go. Put it on. Let's see. Give it to Juju. Let him keep the change.
Just give us your credit card number.
Go ahead.
Say your credit card number.
You works for Paramount.
He said, don't lie. You know this.
Such a no-liar.
Show me you downloading an app. Mother's maiden name.
How do you have no shame?
I don't know.
It's just, we've rewarded it for too long is the problem. Like, you're saying I'm in, and you don't mean it.
Can I expense it?
Coming out of the final turn.
That means I'm in.
We're in together.
Well, you share the passwords. Share the passwords.
Wait, Dan, are you saying you're not in?
Ooh. Oh, man. You got to be an ally
look,
here.
Dan.
Be careful.
Jeez,
So out
Louise.
of the final turn, Kyle Larson just decides, I'm going to bump this guy off of this straight away, and I'm going to win this. And they're just tire to tire, just pushing each other right to the finish line.
You jumped on the couch like Tom Cruise and Oprah.
Yeah. Because they announced, I think it's Boucher. I probably mangled it. They announced him as the winner. Again, I was watching on mute. And my eyes like, no, Larson won that. And guess what? Tightest race in NASCAR Cup Series history. My eyes were right. I realized that Kyle Larson won that race by 1/100th of a second.
No, 1/1000th.
1/1.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in sports because I'm bad at math.
Does it get closer?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, it's never been closer.
Right. Yeah.
I suppose it could be 1/1,000,000th, 1/10,000th of a second.
There's actually rules.
Stop it.
I have to look it up.
Crazy.
I have to look it up, but there are actually rules in place if it's an actual tie. NASCAR has rules. And keep in mind, this was in overtime.
But what do you mean the rules? The rules is, hey, it's a tie.
No, like in baseball,
they-
tie goes to the runner.
They have
I mean,
tiebreakers, like who led more
What does that
laps.
mean?
No, there has to be a winner.
That's not the rule
There's
in
not,
NASCAR.
They cut
runner
the
wins
trophy
the
in
tie.
half. Yeah.
Well, if it's a tie in NASCAR, what are the rules? What do you mean there has to?
I
What
think-
is the second thing they go to? Coin flip?
I think it's like who led more laps. There's tie-breaking scenarios. It's
Russian
never,
roulette.
It's
Can
never
you
been needed.
find me the first tiebreaker? Because put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you know the first tiebreaker if a NASCAR race ends in a tie?
Yeah, there were 3 wide, man.
or a horse
Chase Elliott
race,
was
or
right
a horse race for that matter. I don't know the rule to that.
Well, horse racing is dead. Who cares?
This would have been an all-time finish. Can we throw up the still one more time? This would have been an all-time finish if the number 9 was the one that was on Kyle Larson's ass. And he's like not even being considered right there. They were going 3 wide in overtime. It was just an amazing event. I think NASCAR is also going behind a paywall.
It is most laps led during that race.
What about for horses? What about what is the first tie? What is the first tiebreaker for horses? Because laps is probably not going to be the tiebreaker there.
Just one lap, you know.
Okay, thank you, Stugotz.
I think the official thing is the driver who scored the highest position at the earliest point in the race will officially win the event.
Well, that's different than most laps.
It is indeed going to Amazon, NASCAR. Dale Jr. just signed.
Can we get to that tweet that we have of what it is that the Marlins got for Christian Yelich? The Marlins are in disarray. They're one of the worst teams
It's early.
in the league. Yeah, you keep mentioning that.
It's 162.
And what they got for Christian Yelich, Stugotz, look at that. Currently, Lewis Brinson is playing in the Mexican League.
Doing well.
Playing with the
Puebla's on fire in that league.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should check it out.
You've got a guy playing college football. You got a guy
he
who's
just committed.
the head baseball coach at Dwyer High School.
That's good.
I've bet on Puebla 15 straight games responsibly.
That is not good, Stugotz. They had Christian Yelich on a cheap contract. They had him signed long term, and they traded him. And one of the problems, I know recently some Marlins fans have been saying that the present administration doesn't know what it's doing, but what they were handed in a farm system, given what they gave away to get that farm system, was not nearly strong enough. And on top of the injuries that they have right now, they don't exactly have a young future to look forward to either.
Nightmare, and I'd love to get into all of that. Monte Harrison is playing college football. He's 28 years old, and he's going to Arkansas as a walk-on.
That's the lead here, folks.
He's going to dominate.
Do not bury him.
He's going to be amazing.
There's a 28-year-old former, he played it. He had a career.
Played in the major league.
He had
It's
a
not
major
fair.
league career.
No, I'm sorry.
And now he's going to Sam Pittman in Arkansas.
You can't be 28 playing against 19-year-olds. No.
Brandon Whedon?
I understand that the team
Chris
pays you.
Wenke?
You cannot believe that this guy who has not played football in a decade is going to come into an SEC team and dominate.
Have you seen Monte Harrison run with his shirt off?
Have you seen the SEC?
Have you seen that man run with his shirt off?
We've never.
Good argument
I like
right
that,
there.
yeah.
What have you seen?
WFAT.
You've
I mean,
cited
well done.
you've cited Winky and Brandon Whedon, and these we've seen it at the quarterback position. I don't think we've ever really seen it at an outside skill position where someone in their 28-year-old body can out-physical someone.
Let's ask the audience. Have you seen him run shirtless? What kind of analysis is that?
Do you have any questions, or are you just gonna stand here looking pretty?
I'm just taking it.
You guys good?
Papi, papi, con cual, papi, 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 con cual, voy, donde, con cual, donde sea, papi.
All right, we're here with Michael Tomei, who's a local guide here on Cayocho. We're in front of the historic Domino Park. Why is this important? Why is this part of our culture as Cuban Americans?
Dominoes is much more than just a table game. It's a way for Cubans to come together. And beyond that, for any culture to come together. This place is cool because the tables are designed for dominoes.
Mm-hmm.
We have tables designed for that game. That's how important it is to us because it's just a way for us to kind of kick the can and
They have
nose.
grooves inside that you can lay up your fleechas. Can anybody come in here and play?
So everybody can come in here to watch the people play, but in order to play here, you have to have a membership.
Okay.
And that's according to if you're a local or at least 55 years of age.
So this is like retirement age only. So if people look into retirement, we would look into getting a membership here at Domino Park. Can I get it as a local, or I have to be 55?
You have to prove that you're a local, and you have to be at least 55.
Okay, so it's a double-edged sword. So we have a lot. Michael, as a tour guide here in Cayocho, are you actually Cuban, or are you fake Cuban, or what's happening here?
No, I'm not fake. I'm Cuban. I was born here. My heritage is Cuban.
Same.
Yeah, you're oozing Cuban.
It's the gold watch and the gold chain, it must be. Billy, what are your first thoughts when you see Domino Park, you see people playing dominoes?
I'm excited. I like this place.
Yeah?
Very nostalgic. I also noticed that there's a walk of fame right outside here, which I'm wondering how we could become a part of, potentially.
Michael, how do you get on the walk of fame here in Cayocho?
You really have to do something truly impactful to make it onto the Walk of Fame. It's not like the West Coast is where we have Daffy Duck and Godzilla and whatnot.
Goofy things. These are serious people.
Yeah, and not all celebrities. Some of them are people who have made some sort of impact into the community in some significant way. This one is Ernesto Lecuona.
Ernesto Lecuona is one of the most important musicians to be born in Cuba. In the 30s and 40s, he created some of Hollywood's biggest movie soundtracks, and as a composer, he became known as the Cuban Gershwin. And when Castro came to power, he fled and settled in Florida.
He was actually among the very first stars that was placed on the Walkway of the Stars. And then the other one is another significant one, and my favorite, I would say, is Celia Cruz.
Of course, the OG.
Who's really the spirit of the whole neighborhood.
How long have you been a tour guide here on Cayocho?
On Cayocho in particular, about 3.5 years.
What's part of the walking tour? What makes Cayocho the place to do a walking tour?
The thing is that Cayocho is the backbone of the whole city, in truth. And long before it was even called Cayocho by the Hispanic population, it was known as the Tamiami Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Tamiami Trail, 275 miles long, more or less, is your connection from Tampa, Florida to Miami. And this was the main highway, the OG highway, if you will, for the original pioneer residents of this area.
This goes all the way down to Miccosukee, past Miccosukee, Chrome, all the way around. Like, this is a very far
Tampa,
street.
He just said it.
Well, I know,
Weren't
but
you
for
paying
people,
attention?
I get
Jeez.
that. For people that are seeing Miami differently, 8th Street goes from here all the way to Tampa. Why did he do that to me? Why did he do that to me? Go ahead, my bad. Enough distractions, Billy.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You guys good?
Yeah, we're good. You have any questions, or are you just gonna stand here looking pretty?
I'm just taking it
looking
in.
bonito.
I'm just
Ask the
taking
man a
it in.
question, dude. You guys
Do you ever
want
make up stories?
Ooh, good
Yeah,
one.
totally.
That's a great question.
No, I don't. I don't make up stories.
Because I've often
take about the
thought,
tour
yeah,
guide.
like I felt like if I were to go to like Rome or whatever, right, and go to the Colosseum as like a member of a tour, right, I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna tell whatever story they've told me. So if I was a tour guide there, I get bored telling the same stories every day. So I just kind of throw in a little thing here and there and see who believes it, who doesn't. You know?
Well, that's what I'm literally and actively working against.
Is that?
Wow.
Is the culture of regurgitating scripts and all that stuff, but instead, becoming interested in what we're doing, and that way we don't come off as stale whenever we give a tour.
So Billy just wants to do a shortcut and make fun of the art of tour guiding.
Falsehoods.
That's the problem.
I see.
No, that's not true.
Maybe you should become a tour
I
guide.
want to add some flair, some zest. You know what I mean?
What would you say, like, if you were walking
Some
around?
sazón completa
I like
to the
that.
stories.
So if me and Michael were walking down, what
Yeah.
story would you make about Domino Park? About
This
our
is the
experience?
last place Celia Cruz was before she died. She used to come here every day for lunch. She, never lost a game of dominoes, things like that. I feel like also this hasn't been updated since like 1996. Like this does not get updated regularly. Like it was like a one-time thing, get in or you're never going to be part of it.
Yeah, that's That's mainly accurate. The early 2000s, right? There's only about 30 plus stars.
What, this guy over here with this microphone that's doing a walking tour, is he a nemesis of yours?
Well, honestly, that's the whole gist behind my moniker, which is the Guide Father.
Yeah.
Is that it's all about becoming the ultimate tour guide. And I think that when I see another tour guide, I'm inspired to either collaborate with them or help them or kill them.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you're a godfather, so we don't joke about that.
Guide
Father.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for watching Tony Tonight. Carlito, cut the block.
Roy, where is your level of consternation? You are someone who is filled with a great deal of bluster and bravado. I generally believe you to be a liar when it comes to how much fear you will feel about the team in this market that you care about the most. You have not beaten the Boston Bruins this year. Last year, you beat them as an 8 seed. They were the best regular season team of all time.
3-0-2, Dano.
Tonight you play a game, and this would be, if I were Stugotz, something that I would be calling a must-win, because I do not believe that you want to go 0-2 down against this team.
Yeah, the team that always blows leads. Ooh.
At home, you don't want to start 0-2 against a team that you're not that much better than.
Yes,
wow.
You know what?
Whoa, wow.
I wasn't strong enough on you, and I didn't want to pull the Dan Le Batard's a hoser card, but you're a hoser. What is this talent? Pasta. Okay, fine. They have a bunch of guys that were on fourth lines on other team. You're going to hit me with Morgan Geekie? What are you doing? We're way more talented.
All I'm doing is that the last 2 years, the results, if you don't show me the roster and you only show me the results on the last 2 years, there's not a lot of difference between the results.
But that's last year was last year. Wow. Boston's worse, less talented. Bergeron retired. All right, Patrice Bergeron is not walking through that door. Florida's better. Reinhart got better. Yeah. So, I understand points are points, but talent? There is a disparity here.
But you've lost 5 times to the team. In the last game you played, you lost 5-1.
Styles make fights, Dan Le Batard.
They're due.
But they're not more talented than Florida.
You lost 5-1 in the last game. Roy.
They are due, though. That was a good point.
Where
Thank you.
is your level of fear?
I'm even, Dan, as usual. Even.
Right.
All right, first of all, tonight we're going to have a better showing from Aaron Ekblad, because what happened in game 1 can't happen again. He was out there for – thank you. He was out there for 3 goals. 2 of them was his fault. One of them thanks to Bob, but 2 of them was his fault. Yeah. And that breakaway by Justin Brazeau, he gave chase on that breakaway. It was a sad sight to see. He could not catch up on that one. So, yeah, we need a better output from Aaron Ekblad. But we saw yesterday Sam Bennett practiced. He put full weight on that wrist, on the area that he got hurt in.
That's big, yeah.
Hopefully he gets to play today.
Dan, they're doing the thing where they know tonight's a big game, a must-win game, but they're giving the appearance that they're confident and not nervous. When you're overconfident, guess what you are? You're nervous. I mean, sorry, guys.
What?
They're nervous.
Right, Roy got a hockey jersey with Bellamy on the back, a Panthers jersey. I don't believe you. You an even lie. That's what you are.
What? An even lie? Wow, man.
I want to go back to what Stugotz said. When you're overconfident, you're nervous?
Yeah, it's true.
Yes, yeah. You're selling your overconfidence, but you're really nervous deep down inside.
False bravado.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a sports car.
Yeah.
Clearly, you have a small penis.
Yeah.
I said I was even. I'm not overconfident. I'm even.
Well, he's saying you're overconfident. He's describing
Well,
you as
this is
being
overconfident
even?
for Roy. I mean,
I think what everybody's worried about is, I think Florida's more talented. We don't have to get into the weeds on that. But here's what a great equalizer is: a hot goalie in the playoffs.
Yep.
You can get goalied, and right now everyone's kind of worried about that. In watching that game back, Florida didn't have great opportunities. I thought what Boston was exceptional at was their defense was just all over the front of the net. There was nothing clean getting to Swayman. And you had to be perfect with your shots. We missed some open nets. Chucky wishes that he had that one back. But here's what can make me nervous tonight. Because even if they lose 2-0, but we see some improvements. Because Paul Maurice got way too cute with the lines, I thought. There were defensive breakdowns from your forwards that you do not see. Barkov is a Selke finalist for a reason. And him and Tkachuk, even though you'd love to see them play on the same line together, there's a reason why you don't see it. Defensively, out of sorts.
Especially if Bennett ends up playing today. Kachuk's probably going to be back on the second line and get back with him.
I think what they have to do before this Swayman thing becomes a thing, because Swayman's never played this much, is the Florida Panthers are really excellent at making lives miserable for opposing goalies. You got to throw bodies in front of him. You got to throw him off his game. You got to have Nick Cousins doing Nick Cousins things. You have to do what Tkachuk did last year to this very same Boston Bruins team. Get under their skin, get in front of that net, and play Panther hockey. That was totally absent in Game 1. Defensively, a mess. They were careless with the puck. Bob was careless, and he put Ekblad in a bad position. And then Ekblad had his worst game as a pro. Gustav Forsling, I don't think I've ever seen him play that bad. Mm-hmm. So now you've caught up. You got smacked in the face. You realize after that week off, we got healthy, and we were waiting for this moment where you needed Sam Bennett. It changes everything for the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, in Game 1, they were incredibly sloppy. A lot of turnovers, just too many turnovers. So they got to be better careful with the puck there.
Which do they have to be, better or careful?
Both.
Better and careful, because they were bad and not careful.
Better careful is what I have to be when I'm betting Mexican Puebla baseball.
Stugotz, the Marlins of Billy Gill have been quite the disaster so far this season.
It's early.
And they have traded away Luis Arraez, their most consistent player, a two-time batting champion. And I want to go back for a second, Billy, because over the course of covering this franchise, Marlins fans have at various points been very mad at me for being overly negative about what this franchise has done to its most loyal customers. And those loyal customers get mad at me when I talk about some of these playoff appearances being not sustainable or mirages, or they find me overly pessimistic on Marlins-related things. But the business of baseball in South Florida has betrayed and people who are deep sports fans who cared about baseball has killed their love of baseball. And we did an interview on ESPN with the commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred. I believe it's the most disastrous interview publicly that a commissioner has ever done. Let's play a clip of that, please, for the audience here as we go through some of what it is that is happening with the Marlins now.
Rob, were you aware of Jeter's plan to trade players and slash payroll?
You know, it's interesting.
Yes or no, please? Yes or no, please?
You know, I'm happy to do yes or no's.
You can elaborate afterward. I just want to know if you were aware of that plan. Like, did you approve a plan that had slash payroll again for South Florida?
We do not approve operating decisions by any ownership, new owners, current owners, or not. And as a result, the answer to that question is no. I'm not going to be deposed like this is some adversary thing.
The three other dismantlings you can make an argument for, the very rational baseball argument that you're making, but we were told when Miguel Cabrera was traded that when they got a new taxpayer stadium, it wouldn't happen anymore. You understand that, though, right?
Look, I think that is a broader statement of the commitment that was made in the stadium process. I don't think anybody ever committed that a particular player wasn't going to be traded in an effort to be competitive over the long haul.
Going to bring in David Sampson here, former Marlins team president, the host of Nothing Personal on the Le Batard and Friends Network.
Little game of yes or no with the commish.
Dude, that yes or no, please.
Oh, it was so good.
Woo, awkward.
Man.
So I
You
don't.
are good, Dan.
I don't know.
That was a moment.
That's like Kathy thundering away at Kendrick and Few Good Men. Oh, my God.
That was the beginning of the end.
A few good men. I don't think it's just few good men.
Whatever.
Do you think that was the beginning of the end, or just like we were already at the beginning of the end, and that was like, hey, then some real conversation started happening? Like, these guys are not worth the headache. We don't know anything about podcasts.
I think the beginning of the end was just Skipper leaving.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely
I
gave
felt
that
it.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt it. As it broke it, I was
think
like,
it
ooh.
started before that.
Well, but the
It started in 04.
the baseball calling ESPN executives.
Started when the ink dried.
All right, moving on. David, do you have a different take on what just happened with Arise? Because is this the business as usual for the Marlins, or is it something else? Is there a way to defend this?
It's hard to imagine I'm going to defend the Marlins, but I really am here. Explain to me who amongst you believes the Marlins had a chance this year, even though it was just May 3rd. The thought was the team got lucky last year in one-run games. It all came together to make the playoffs. If they started off well, they would have hung on to see if they can have magic in a bottle twice. But when they started off the way they did, it really opened the door for them to make moves earlier. I just couldn't believe they didn't save the payroll. But that said, starting to move pieces makes a lot of sense.
You do understand, though, why it is the fan base would again feel hurt by the idea of I occasionally get attached to these guys and they're always leaving.
I understand that, but I also would say that there's a lot of turnover on a lot of different teams. I think the bigger complaint is that the winning windows have not been as long as other low revenue teams, where you can maybe have a 2 to 4 year winning window, notwithstanding Tampa, whose window is like a decade long, but most it's a 2 to 4 year winning window. And it seems that the Marlins are not able to do that. Though I would argue last year was not a winning window. It just became a winning year. And the rebuild that Jeter was supposed to do, now Peter Bendex is going to do. And I think you're at the start of a new section of rebuild. The problem is you've got some pitchers who are inexpensive now and really good and hurt. And then they're going to start getting more expensive, and you're not going to be in your window. And that means you've screwed up the timing.
I think the skeptical fan would look at it and argue, well, I don't think anyone expected them before last season to make the playoffs, right? They overachieved. They got lucky in certain instances, and they made the playoffs. However, with the exception of Sandy, you still had a lot of that core there, and then you had the opportunity. You went into the season knowing you're not going to have Sandy when spring training started, right? Then you had injuries and you lost more players. But prior to spring training, nothing was added. So you see this all kind of fell apart. You see that the pitching staff all got injured. They were decimated, and their solution was, let's bring in the closer and have him become a starter. That was a disaster. But at the time, fans were saying, why didn't you add on to this core and try to make a run for it? And now the cynical skeptic would say, because this was the plan. Like, you set this up so if they fell apart early, you could have a fire sale that would be justified. And the fan base would say, look, they're not that good. They're going to lose 100 games. Who cares if they sell it off? And in reality, had you added in the offseason, you could have avoided it being this disastrous this early and being able to pull the plug so quickly.
I really hate to give Bruce Sherman any sort of runway here, but their expectation for revenue just has not happened in terms of gate revenue and in terms of broadcast revenue. Don't forget that TV deal, however bad it was that Jeter signed, it was a guaranteed stream of revenue over a course of years, and it just isn't going to materialize because of the bankruptcy of their network. And the second thing you have to realize is that there's a $10 million player coming that's being signed in 2026. You have a 3-year, $30 million deal with Giancarlo Stanton. And that money counts as payroll. So when you're looking at bringing in a long-term free agent, you have to think about where your payroll is going to be in 26 because it comes quickly.
The chairman of Bally's did a podcast, and he talked about the A's relocation. What's important there?
That the chairman, don't invest $1 of your money in Bally's. The chairman of Bally's did this podcast, and he was that's the number one takeaway.
No, I'm laughing because Jeremy just physically hid under the desk because he's doing a bunch of work for Bally's.
Where his paychecks come from.
I don't think he's in today.
What was it about sports that Bally's thought, like, I know we've been terrible at everything over the course of our lives here at Bally's HQ, but I really think regional sports, over-the-top cable television, is where we can turn this thing around. How is Bally's still around? They fail at gyms. They fail at hotels. They fail at TV.
Where's Jeremy?
How is this a thing?
Let's ask somebody who collects their
WFH,
cash.
Yeah, he's not here today.
It's like having Pan Am just operate your regional sports. How did we let this? Who could have seen this coming? Who?
I lost some college tuition when Eastern Airlines tried to make a comeback in Miami many years ago. And I thought, what a great idea. Eastern, they're going to make it back.
You fell for that?
I did.
It's Firefest. It's like, oh, hey, you guys want to do Firefest too? You guys seem to love the first one. Yeah, we'll get you out of jail. Throw another Firefest. Bally's is just moving from, it doesn't even matter what industry it is. They don't know what they are.
Let me just tell you.
Like, what are we doing? How is this allowed?
Here's why the interview was bad, Dan, to answer your question, is he was doing this podcast as the chairman, and he, first of all, it came out, and he let it slip that John Fisher, in his mind, was already doing Vegas when he still claimed he had not decided or did not have permission to be in Vegas. Notwithstanding that, which is likely true, still doesn't mean the team's going to Vegas. What he was claiming is that Bally's and the land they have in Vegas, it is going to be an outstanding investment for Bally's because they've got 9 acres for a baseball stadium out of 36, and there's going to be millions of people and tourists, and it's going to be a huge boon to the rest of our development, which, by the way, we're not able to finance now because we're doing projects in Chicago, et cetera. And by the way, we're not sure where the stadium's going to go on those 36 acres. But by the way, baseball is played in the summer when there aren't a lot of other things going on. It's the downtime in Vegas, according to him. Clearly, he's never been to Vegas. There is no downtime if you've ever been to the pool parties or everything else going on in Vegas. So he just came off as misinformed. And when you're looking to invest in a company or decide where sort of a company should be in the pantheon of buy, sell, or hold, he just did not exude the sort of confidence that I would have liked. And that's the point of earnings calls, as an example, which is what Disney had yesterday and what companies do quarterly. It's what Bally's was doing by doing this podcast, just sort of giving an indication of where they are. It's you're talking about your company, your vision, and you're trying to get people to buy into your vision. And boy, I was not buying in after that podcast.
Is there any world where the Vegas thing falls apart or the A's are just stuck in Sacramento for an extended period of time?
Yeah, Billy, there is. You know why? Because a huge part of the land is owned by Bally's. Because this is the only profit they see is we're just going to have this empty lot gain value. How do we keep giving Bally's more things? It's like having the Arena Football League do your taxes. It makes no sense.
Not that.
How are they still around? Show me where they've worked.
All right, Mike, settle down. It's not like having the Arena Football League do your taxes.
It is absolutely
that. Too far.
It is. It's like having the Rock take out my appendix. It is.
Or run a football league.
It's like the Rock running a football league. That's exactly what it is. Or it's like the Rock being president.
Way to go, Billy.
More like that.
We were rolling, Billy.
I've got a way to get Jeremy.
Dandy Bear. Now supermarkets.
I've got a way to get Jeremy to stop hiding under the desk. Did I hear that on Nothing Personal you have said that Jimmy Butler will not play another game for the Miami Heat?
I did. That is an official wait to see from Nothing Personal. I watched the Pat Riley press conference at the end of the season. A, he reminded me of a grumpy old man, and it made me sad. But B, the things that he said about Jimmy, it's, when you get older and you just say things that it's supposed to be your inside voice, but all of a sudden becomes your outside voice, and your family tries to excuse you, and then it's sort of cute the way it is when a 2-year-old says something, but not a 15-year-old. Pat Riley talking about Jimmy Butler the way he did, telling him basically to shut up and try to dribble and play. I don't believe that Jimmy's going to take that well, and I believe that this was a public viewing of what's going on inside the Heat organization, where Jimmy's been a problem, Jeremy. And I don't know if you're willing to acknowledge this, but not knowing, is he going to play? Is he going to practice? You're going to say that doesn't exist. There he goes. Boy, that's journalism for you, Dan.
That was a no.
No, he's hiding. He's hiding from me because he doesn't understand why he's catching your shrapnel here.
What do you think happens? What do you think happens with these regional sports networks? Do you think Bally's is like, well, let's just sell it to Sears?
Well, no, they're actually trying to sell it to Amazon.
Not Burdines?
Their plan, not Burdines.
They do already have deals in place with Amazon. The timetable on that is TBD, but in terms of when it'll roll out.
You know what kills deals? Time. And Bally's does not know how to operate a timetable. Do not trust them. If anyone can screw up.
The timeline is actually, you guys are wrong. The timeline is set by the bankruptcy court, and there's a hearing in June in order to approve a deal.
Bankruptcy court? Do they have a corner office in bankruptcy court?
Put it on the poll,
Is it
please.
Bally's bankruptcy court?
Does Bally's have a corner
Naming
office?
rights?
Does Bally's have a corner office in bankruptcy court? Jeremy, do you have any rebuttal for David Sampson? Is the first
on what?
He's the first on record
Bally's.
I've heard anywhere saying that Butler will not play another game as a member of the Heat.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is public negotiating on both sides, right? Jimmy's agent afterward came out and spoke specifically about the Heat need to make improvements. He talked about the numbers when Jimmy's on the court versus when he's off. But then he also said they're cut from the same cloth. All we want is for Jimmy to be paid what he's worth. And I think on the Heat side of it, the posturing that they're doing is, hey, look, man, you're setting the tone. Right? If you're going to take nights off, if you're going to sort of load manage, if you're not going to play through every bump and bruise as Pat Riley expected from players in the past, then some of the other players on the team are going to take the same note. And the Heat dealt with more starting lineups this year than anybody in the NBA that had a winning record. It's the most starting lineups they've ever had. And so it's not just Jimmy missing games. It's several guys missing games. But he's looking at the guy who he called the biggest needle mover on the team, not his captain, Bam Adebayo, but Jimmy Butler, the needle mover, and saying, hey, set the tone in this way. It's public posturing between both sides. I still think ultimately he's here playing basketball in Miami next year. But I think they'll consider anything. He did flatly say, no, we won't be trading Jimmy.
In fairness,
but that's what you say.
Yeah, he also may not trade Jimmy, and Jimmy still may never play another game for the Heat.
I also like
or a handful.
It's like Circuit City having the rights to the Academy Awards. It never made sense.
It's just a name.
Quite the Freudian slip there when you said missing games and made it missing James, because what they do miss is LeBron James. It was a lot easier back then. What do you make, David, of the WNBA not only getting Disney Plus certified and having a deal here where you're going to get some support from one of the major money players, but also the team's flying now in a way that's vastly more professional because they're going to have chartered planes?
When I was back in my day, I was able to get on commercial planes and have NBA teams with me. The first time I ever visited a Major League Baseball player, they were sharing a room with another Major League Baseball player, and this was not that long ago. The NBA players were flying commercially through the 80s. 1987, I think, was the first time an NBA team flew charter, and that may have been the Pistons. So it's funny that this is what the players want. I understand they're saying security and they're saying comfort and convenience. I get it. It's $25 million they're going to spend before they get a sponsor, except I've done these sponsorship deals. You pay more to fly privately than the amount of the sponsor deal. It's a big expense. And at the end of the day, it's going to shorten the amount of time that players will have to make more money, meaning lengthen. When you're negotiating a collective bargaining agreement, you want money for your players. Well, the WNBA is going to say, we spent more money on your creature comforts. Now we can't increase the minimum salary, or we can't increase the maximum salary. So I think it's a mistake for the players to have wanted this so badly, because at the end of the day, it'll just come out of their pocket.
But why would it be a mistake? They need to fly better and take care of their bodies and have comforts and then negotiate something when the time comes to negotiate. But right now, they're getting something, and they're getting it without having yet negotiated it.
Oh, but you were right up until the end. So the fact that the WNBA is agreeing to do charter flights for the players, that is a part of a negotiation when it comes to CBAs. The fact that they did that, and there will be a dollar amount associated with it. And I love it when players want creature stuff. Baseball players fought for a chef in the clubhouse. Like, we give a crap.
I know
if there's a chef in the clubhouse.
You've told me that, but that's we're not collectively bargaining everything right now. This is a victory. This is a victory. You're saying
Right,
it's not a
absolute
victory?
because, brother, you know how many hatred emails, tweets that go out to Brittany Griner? You know what they deal with going through these airports? These ladies are vilified. They all the time they're come at. They also attack. Brother, like, this is a big win for the WNBA no matter who you are. I don't give a damn if it costs $10 billion. Let's keep these ladies safe, because what they have to endure is already more than terrible.
What he's saying, though, I think, is that in the future collective bargaining, this may be you winning a battle, but you're losing the war, because later on they use this against you and say, well, we can't raise your salary that you want because that money's gone towards this instead.
That's the reality of bargaining. And Juju, of course, safety is what matters. And obviously, you do not deserve any sort of bad treatment, no matter where you are. But flying privately does not all of a sudden take away the opportunity for people to treat people badly. You can find them in the hotels. You can find them as you're getting into the hotel, or as you're getting into the stadium, or during the games. There are ways, as you know, big league players get impacted all the time by racism and hatred. It doesn't end because you fly privately.
But David, what's going to happen here is they are cashing a lottery ticket early. These TV rights are coming, and so they get to mortgage some of that now, because they get to live a better life now than the one they've lived, because the TV money is about to pay for all of this.
Are you sure?
I mean,
where are you getting that from?
What do you think, David?
No, that's a fair question, though. Are you sure?
Look at the ratings numbers.
But spending it before you have it is a dangerous game.
No, not if you know you're going to get an amount of money that dwarfs the amount of money you have ever had in this realm, because they're about to cash in. You can't tell me they're not about to cash in, because the numbers that they're doing are crazy, and the streaming services are going to fight for those numbers.
But David thought the Marlins were going to cash in on a TV deal, and then even the deal that they signed, now the company's gone bankrupt.
So, Dan, which company would that be?
Circuit
the one
City.
That's always going bankrupt. How are they winning bids? How do they have money? What is this business plan?
It just hijacks the whole segment.
Yeah.
I don't even know where we were.
David, the Knicks.
Yes, sir.
The Knicks.
The
game tonight.
The Mecca. Brunson. Your thoughts?
If you think the Knicks aren't winning the series, you're not paying attention. Of course they're going to beat the Pacers. Then the NBA doesn't care if they beat the Celtics, because one of them ends up in the finals, and that's just fine.
What's the movie you're reviewing, David?
Can we review? Has anyone in the room seen Unfrosted?
No, that's that's a Jerry Seinfeld thing, right? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to carry the water on this. I love Jerry Seinfeld, the fact that he was directing a movie and it was going to be about the start of Pop-Tarts, and I love the frosted cinnamon, the brown sugar Pop-Tarts. I love the strawberry Pop-Tarts. I love the low-fat Pop-Tarts. I don't toast them. I eat them raw, put them on top of dry cereal with peanuts and wasabi peas and some sort of spicy mix.
Wait a minute, what?
You're ruining Pop-Tarts.
What is that?
What? That is a very common meal for me.
What? You can't even taste things. Why are you adding those things together? COVID took your taste. Like, what are you doing?
Nutrition.
Think about the crunch and the texture of the combination of wasabi
That
peas.
is the meal of a serial killer.
Did you do this when you could taste, or is this like a new thing?
No, this is an old thing. And so I still do it because it reminds me of days gone by.
Wasabi peas with Pop-Tarts. What kind of breakfast is
And
that?
dry cereal and peanuts and a other special kind of mix that you buy that has some those spicy little orange things. I can't remember what it's called. I think they call it, it's that. But
No,
then
those
there's
are
another one.
I know what the wasabi peas are. What? You're
Crazy.
a maniac. You're
That's
a
like having
lunatic.
a hotel chain become a lifestyle gym chain, becoming a regional sports chain.
Not going to let that go. Huh?
What is Unfrosted? How'd you feel about it? It was doo-doo?
It's a movie that Jerry Seinfeld directed, and it's terrible. And you would have expected some sort of humor that would have made me smile. You would have expected him to be good or the movie to be interesting because the story of the Pop-Tart could have been cool. Except I laughed out loud. A total, if your over-under was 0.5, take the under. There wasn't even a guffaw. I managed to smile, and it's only because there was a moment during the movie that I saw how much was left, and I had passed the halfway point, so I knew that I was close to the end. That was my only smile. It's a disappointing debut for Jerry. Skip it and just eat the Pop-Tart.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. If you've gone halfway through a movie, do you feel like you have to finish it? At Le Batard Show. Nothing Personal is the name of the podcast. Thank you, David. Good talking to you.
I don't know how much of East Coast sports fans caught of that Dallas Stars Colorado Avalanche game last night. Many of you might have said, oh, this game's out of hand. It's 3-0 Stars. Let me tuck in. Well, what you missed was yet another overtime, and Colorado coming all the way back from a 3-0 deficit to win 4-3. There's so many stars, no pun intended, on that ice. Dallas is probably the deepest team in the league. This series has everything. It's had hot goaltenders coming into this series, really young quality players. There's star boys all over this ice. And if you're a nostalgic puckhead, you got Zach Parise and Joe Pavelski on the ice as well. But one thing was missing last night, and I'm pretty sure the Dallas Stars felt the impact. She wasn't there.
She wasn't.
She was not there.
Oh.
And you can't win those big games without her. If you know, you know. If you've watched a Dallas Stars game of import over the last few years, you know exactly who I'm talking about. She was not there.
Was there an explanation?
There never is, Dan. But when she's there, you know. Because the group chat is a buzzin'. Hell, Biz will tell you. That's one of my favorite parts when they have Dallas Stars games and she's there. Biz is like, she's there! He loves it. This is one of the great things about this sport. Her.
3 goals down, and that's your analysis coming
She wasn't
back?
there.
She wasn't there.
Yeah.
That's your
She
analysis.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
They lost. She wasn't there.
She wasn't there when they went down 3-0 either.
She wasn't
Or
there.
when they were up 3-0.
She wasn't
rather.
there. See, she was there for Game 7 against the Knights, to which, like, anytime she's there, you're hoping for a cutaway of the opposing head coach.
Right. And what happened when she was there? Game 7.
They won.
Yeah, they won.
They won. She was there. She wasn't there last night.
I want to get to some video here that I want to show you. I don't know how many of you in our audience have found yourself in fist fights. I have told you, Stugotz, that I retired from the fist fight game shortly after college. I remember the feeling of sitting in the street with a car pulling up and hitting its brakes so it would not hit me because I got my shirt pulled over my head and I'd lost a shoe and my ear was bleeding because to that point I wasn't somebody who had a lot of fear in bar fights, but I've told you the story of as soon as I squared up against this person, I saw that this person wasn't afraid, and once I registered that, I said to myself, oh, that means I'm the one who's afraid here because and then he was good at mixed martial arts, and then my shirt got pulled over my head and I didn't do
You
any.
retired. I mean,
I retired.
Were you fighting Rob Ray?
No, it wasn't
Sue Grimson?
it was not a professional mixed martial artist, but it was somebody who knew how to fight clearly, and I was quite the amateur, and that's when it all ended, the bloody ear. But here you've got a strange setting for a fist fight to break out, and I don't think that we have audio on this. I think it's just B-roll, but it's at a Garfield movie, and what ends up happening is some guy wants to fight, and he doesn't realize that he has picked a fight with somebody who's a Spanish boxer. Who's a professional boxer, and so what ends up happening with
oh wow,
yeah, you square up you square up against somebody, and you see that they're on their toes, and it doesn't go well. And
There was a lot of real estate acquired the second he got into that stance.
Yes, and this goes about the way that you'd expect, except there's also Garfield on the screen in the background as a cartoon, and so it's a little bit weird to see the adults behaving that way in a movie theater. I'm assuming is filled with children.
I think that video was a couple days ago. Those guys must really hate Mondays.
Oh boy.
Weird to see a cat
All right,
fight at Garfield.
Oh, come on, man.
Get out.
Maybe he called him a pussy cat.
Get out. Get out.
From you?
Get out. 3 of them.
6 minutes.
3 of them.
How
Struck
many
out.
more of those did you have?
3 of them.
That was it?
That was it. It was all of them.
Okay.
I see the disgust on Juju's face. I second it. I don't know what can be the longest penalty administered to him.
10-minute major.
I don't understand
show misconduct.
why he has chosen bad jokes as the lane that hasn't been taken by other sports takers, dad jokes and bad jokes, but yet another bad investment by you Bally's. And it's why why you have a corner office in bankruptcy court. Because you've decided to get into the bad joke business.
No, that's exclusive to us. He seems to save the other stuff for Valley.
Oh, he doesn't do that elsewhere?
No,
he's a pro there.
He doesn't do I don't we have not had Cody takes some delight in that, but Cody also provides the balance of some good ones.
Occasionally, yes.
But he just fired off. They kept getting worse. Here's what I need to tell the audience about some of the things happening around here that make things difficult. Does anyone listening to this hear that it sounds like I'm in a subway station? That there seems to have been trains going on here, and it's just building construction. But the entire show, I have felt a small jackhammering in my ear. And so, as if that's not annoying enough, to have Jeremy then hit me with not one, but 3 bad Garfield jokes.
Well, for those that are unfamiliar, we're at the Elser, and the Elser took us on at a time where we were without a home, and they moved us into a building that was still ongoing construction, and they're still improving this hotel. They're working on restaurants and whatnot. And
Did you know they were putting in a roller coaster?
I don't. This is a very bizarre sensation because it sounds a lot like my morning commute. I don't know if there's some sandblasting going on, and I don't think it's being picked up by the microphones, thankfully, but we have really persevered.
No, it's a battering. If look, there are any number of reasons that you can complain about the show these days, but today, what I am telling you is I have felt like I'm in a rollicking subway car. The sound that has been in my ear for 2 straight hours feels like a moving train.
Yeah, it even goes like the sound that when it gets like staccato when you're approaching a stop. That you're not actually stopping at and you just roll by one. There's a little staccato sound, and those in New York know what I'm talking about.
John Staccato.
Go sit with him.
See ya.
Get out of here. Unbelievable. That's the path. You're going to follow that blazed path. Stugotz, listeners of this show are going to be delighted on Friday if you are a longtime listener of this show with who's appearing on South Beach Sessions. I want to show you here. This is a visual joke that they have used to promote this week's South Beach Session. I'm guessing you have not seen it yet because when you leave here, you tend to not know a single thing that's happening around anyone's life around here. So let's go.
The article where he had to be told and informed by the reporter saying, when you're not there, they have a lower third that says without Stugotz.
News to me.
Stugotz is consistently coming in here and saying, I wasn't told about this and that and this and that because he doesn't know how to use Slack. Like, he's not participating.
I don't want to use Slack. Too many channels, too many things going on.
I know, but it's the way people communicate around here, and you keep
saying... How about
saying,
pick up the phone?
Oh, because that works.
I will say this. If Stugotz gets you on the phone, you won't get off. Like, Stugotz answers his phone. The problem is getting him off the phone.
I'm a big phone guy. I like direct conversation. I want to hear the words come out of your mouth. I want to hear your response to the words coming out of my mouth. That's the way people communicate. That's how.
Me three. That's how I am, too.
Thank you.
What are you laughing about?
Oh, I'm sorry. The entire conversation is ridiculous, man. I'm sorry.
He spends so much time complaining that no one tells him anything when no one else has to be told because we're all communicating in the same way except for him. He refuses to learn. But here is the reveal on who's going to be joining us on Friday on South Beach Sessions. I'm flipping through some channels in my car, some Sirius satellite channels, and I've arrived at Real Jazz.
Ooh.
Is he always in your car?
Yeah, that's where he's been. People have been asking, where's he been for years? And I've just been chauffeuring him around everywhere. Kenny G is going to be making an appearance on Friday. It's a long conversation, and I'm delighted in having it because I got to ask him everything. Longtime friend of the show. It is good to have him back. Somebody else who has spent a great deal of time around our show is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, who has had a fascinating life for a number of reasons, including he was struck by lightning. And the last time I talked about him, he said simply that he'd had a heart attack in his last match a few months ago that he just played through on a heart attack.
Hockey player.
Yeah, he's
16-time world champ. You just power through.
You just power through a heart attack, and I don't actually doubt him when he says it. I'm not.
Why would you?
Because it seems like it would be pretty hard to wrestle with a heart attack.
And if you watch that match, it appeared to be very hard for him to wrestle. And if anyone's ever looked like they might have had a heart attack that they didn't know would happen, it was him in that match.
Right. I told you earlier this week, no one has flirted with death and is still alive more than Ric Flair.
And I do
he flirts with it like every other year.
Keith Richards is still kicking.
Wow.
Yeah, there is Keith Richards. All right.
And playing well, I'm told.
Put it
Nikki Sixx
on the poll at Le Batard Show. Who are you more surprised to still have alive? Ric Flair, Keith Richards, or Nikki Sixx?
It's got to be Richards, man.
I think most people are going to pick Richards, but again,
if you've died though, are you eliminated from this competition because that Nikki Sixx is done then?
Yeah, he's died and come back, but do we have any proof that Keith Richards has survived a heart attack during a wrestling match?
I don't know. Yeah. Nikki Sixx might be having a heart attack right now. I'm actually seeing him tomorrow.
Where?
In Daytona.
Really?
Yeah, I go to Welcome to Rockville every year. I love this music festival. It's not a lot of music that you would necessarily maybe think of me being associated with, but I love it. It's a great festival in the middle in Daytona Motor Speedway.
Who else is playing?
Limp Bizkit.
Wow.
Which the last time I went to attempt to see. I actually saw Limp Bizkit once with Lebo, and I had an unbelievable time at that concert because that's the kind of stuff that Lebo would want. And he's like, yeah, let's just go see Limp Bizkit.
Their energy had to be great. Did you see them at the height of Limp Bizkit?
No. I've seen Limp Bizkit at the height of Limp Bizkit, and yeah, but what's really cool is they've had this resurgence, and it is totally organic. maybe there was nostalgia. It's hidden at the right moment. Their videos went viral from the Woodstock documentary, and they're getting really young kids at their shows right now. And maybe their sound kind of it aged poorly, and it's come out on the other side. It's kind of like when Benny Blanco talks about his attractiveness. He's like, I think I'm so ugly that I'm attractive now. Maybe that's what's going on with Limp Bizkit. But, Limp Bizkit's going to be there. Foo Fighters, or as Christopher Walken calls them, Foo Fighters. Queens of the Stone Age, one of my favorite bands. Slipknot, another band that you might not think I love, but I love them. Judas Priest. So excited to see Judas Priest.
That's going to be an interesting crowd, Mike, in Daytona.
Jelly Roll is going to be there.
Juju, are you disgusted by everything you're hearing right now?
Color.
Trying not to judge the music.
I'm trying to be inclusive. I'm trying to listen to my brother Mike.
Tech 9 is going to be there. Insane Clown Posse. It's just a weird, wonderful mess. It's like Bally Sports business plan of music festival.
All over the place?
It's just all over the place.
Do you think the people listening to this know that Christopher Walken is a classically trained dancer, that he's an exceptional dancer?
Well, the Fatboy Slim music video.
Yes, but I'm asking, since it's so long ago.
Yeah, Weapon of Choice is a bit of a dated reference.
I'm wondering if the audience knows. It's not just that video. That's where I discovered it, but there are a number of places where you can see Christopher Walken dance and dance well, and it's confusing to me every time I see it.
I saw him dance in King of New York. He's a pretty good dancer.
He's a classically trained dancer.
You're pretty good.
Thank you he danced throughout a music video. Thank you for telling us that you think he's pretty good. But
did you see King of New York?
He's classically trained dancer who made a music video for Fatboy Slim that is only him dancing.
Yeah. You were talking about Ric Flair and this video. So a weird thing happened over the weekend where Ric Flair.
Was this in Gainesville?
This was in Gainesville because he had family graduating. So he took to Instagram and Twitter and he posted like this huge takeout of this Italian restaurant called Paisanos. And he mentioned that he got into an argument with a manager there.
Well, let's show the tweet. We've got video as well, but the tweet says, I spent $1,500. First of all, before we get to Paisano's SFP.
I mean, he comes out of the gate so hot in this tweet. It scrolled across my timeline, and I was like 5 words in. I was in.
Okay,
you got your hooks in me.
He had you at $1,500.
I spent $1,500 at Paisano's SFP to be disrespected. Keep in mind, it's weird. This tweet, it's not all caps, but every first letter of every word is capitalized. I spent $1,500 at Paisanos to be disrespected more than I ever have in my entire life. After taking 20 pictures with customers and staff, I was asked to leave because of an issue I had with the kitchen manager taking too long in the bathroom. I would highly recommend that anyone who wants to enjoy a relaxing time in Gainesville at a nice restaurant to never visit this place. Woo!
Stuck the landing.
5 O's on that woo.
Always. Trademark. Has to have 5 O's. But then, people started digging into this, and, Rick could have had this experience and this altercation at this bar, and nobody would have. Maybe it doesn't really get out, but, like Rambo, First Blood. And
exactly.
So the reports are coming out. People start asking the restaurant what actually happened here. They have their account, so it becomes a he said. Now, Ric Flair is stuck to his story, but I will tell you, his story starts to become undone by the closed captioning in this video because it is not keeping up with him.
Yeah, good. Well, I did it wrong. Except spend money and put this place over and bring my family and friends here. That is bad for you. Why would it be bad for you? Well, watch social media tomorrow. What's your name, job? Nicholas what? Nicholas
Pop.
Don't ever talk. You don't have to call me that. You don't have to do this to me. You're humiliating me and my family. I'm not humiliating you. I didn't do one thing wrong. I walked into a bathroom. And you cussed on my kitchen manager. Oh, you're a kid high cost. Really? What world do you live in? No, ma'am, I'm going to give you $1,000 tip just to say to him, kiss my ass. If you walk outside here, you don't have to be disrespectful to me, sir. We're being. I know. You're disrespecting me. How am I disrespecting? Telling me to leave. I'm not telling you to leave. We're just telling you that you're cut off. Oh, I'm cut off because I'm drunk? Really? Yes, sir. This guy and I are cool. She and I are cool. And along comes Jim. You don't have to call me like that.
Closed caption, having a difficult time.
I'll say it again. You're a
I think he meant to say dipshit, not Egyptian.
Oh, I'm leaving. Trust me. I won't come back yet. Come outside here and talk to me like a man. I'm not going to do that because I'm on the clock. You push it. You're on the clock.
And then another guy at the bar steps up to him. It's an embarrassing look. But here's the thing about Nature Boy, and I'm not excusing this behavior. Do you remember the Jason Statham film Crank?
Yep.
In order to stay alive, his heart rate has to be at a certain level the entire time.
Yeah.
To the point that there's actually a scene in the movie where Jason Statham uses a defibrillator on himself.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where Nate is at this point.
Was a heady play.
The party has to keep going because if it doesn't and it stops, he might stop.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Should Ric Flair walk into the afternoon bar with a defibrillator?
Well, he's got a pacemaker. Let's say.
But nothing will break a man than when that man has to go to the bathroom and he's waiting in line. You could have the best time at that restaurant, but the second you're waiting in line to go to the bathroom and you really have to go, that great time becomes a bad time.
Well, you know how this show maybe missed an angle when talking about Ben Affleck at the roast? There's an angle here about taking too long in the bathroom where if you've done some social media sleuthing, you understand what part of one side is and what his side is.
I think I'd tell the guy to kiss Ric Flair's ass for $1,000 tip.
I'd do it for $500.
I'd do it for $1,000. I'd give the other person, a piece of that, right? And then Ric Flair goes away, and
I've done it for free.
We're all the richer.
I have a number of things that I found to be interesting about this because he was being cut off, and he does sound like he's drunk, but he also sounds like he had a heart attack in his last wrestling match, and he also sounds like he was once hit by lightning. And
Yeah, he does have like a slurry drawl.
But he's being cut off by the bar, and the tweet said something about, he said, after having an issue with this phrasing here, leave because of an issue I had with the kitchen manager taking too long in the bathroom. That creates for me more questions than it answers.
Yeah, well, you don't have to dig too far to see the answers. But again, nature's going to nature. The people are trying to embarrass Nate with this video.
Right.
I mean, he even uses wrestling lingo. He's like, I could have put this place over.
He doesn't care. He's skirted death like 12 times.
Man.
Listen here, paisanos. I could have put you over.
How do you think a fight would have gone had the person taken him up on the
That's
offer
a good
and gone
question.
out to
He would have ran up the turnbuckle, flipped over, thinking that he can actually do a high-risk maneuver from the top rope. Where I think he's only landed it twice, and then he would have been grabbed by the pelvis and the shoulders, and he would have been like, oh, no, and then slammed from the top rope. Why does he keep doing that? It's like Bally's, thinking that they can try their hand in a new business. They're literally Ric Flair running to the top rope, thinking that he can land a frog splash.
It ends with him cutting his forehead with a razor blade and the figure 4 leg lock by the kitchen.
I'm going to beat the hell out of Ric Flair.